What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another acrylic painting Thursday. So we still have the same camera setup where the camera is a little bit closer to the setup. So I don't know if the resolution is going to be any better. Um, the image that you're seeing to the top left is indeed a Nelson Shanks. This is going to be one of, if not the most difficult of the acrylic painting series. So right away you're gonna tell that you could tell that I'm gonna have to paint over this landscape. So yeah, I miscounted my panels and I'm actually all out of panels. So you can do this. You can paint over acrylics. The same thing with oil paint. You can oil paint over an old oil painting. As long as it's not varnished, you'll be fine. And of course, you cannot do acrylic over top of an oil painting. So I've made sure that this was an acrylic because sometimes I can't really tell anymore. So I made sure that this was an acrylic. And you may remember that live stream. It was a long time ago. Maybe not that long ago, but long enough ago that it's all right to paint over it. Hey, Mark L. So just kind of getting an idea of the placement of the head. And I remember one of the first times I painted over a painting. Oh, I don't even know. I don't even think I was 20 yet. And it was one of the most like liberating things in the world is to just cover the past, literally. So head's gonna be about, I don't know, that size. The neck might go off canvas. That I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna mix that reddish color. And you can tell there was already some paint on my palette. Hey GT, welcome, welcome. You can already tell that there was some paint on the palette. I was working on an acrylic painting last night after our oil painting stream. So I'm actually doing a lot of studio painting with acrylic. It's just kind of practical in that way. It's more practical than oil paint because it's less maintenance. And Nelson Shanks is kind of like somewhat like a final boss. If you think about doing a study of anyone, Nelson Shanks is going to be up there amongst the most challenging. So be advised with this one. This is going to be a fun challenge. Fun challenge indeed. The colors are in the description box for you. So we're working with big shapes, general to specific. And because we're covering quite a lot of ground right away, it's really important to see the big picture, as Nelson Shanks would say, before getting hung up on minutia, as he would call it. As this is going to be a pretty big challenge, I am not sure if we're going to do the subtle trivia. That we will find out. Sometimes that helps me focus. I found out yesterday that it was helping me focus. Angle of the eyes. So just a general shape for where the eye sockets are going to fit. No worries, Lisa. We'll be here for a while. Yeah, this is one of Nelson Shank's most popular. I think I've seen this one on like the cover of like uh some music. Probably wasn't you know, painting related, but yeah. So again, light and shadow is pretty basic right now. It's gonna look almost like a robot. Placement of the ear. I um I noticed that this painting, and it may be on purpose. Nelson may have done it on purpose, but the ears are not lined up correctly. So I knew that kind of right away starting this. So we'll probably not paint it the way that Nelson did. Yeah, album cover for sure. Yeah, I could see that. So the idea with this start is just simply to cover the canvas as quickly as I can to get rid of the distraction of the painting in the background. And if you haven't done this before, I totally recommend it. Kind of therapeutic in a way. Ooh, that was too thick. That's okay. Oh, I agree, Grace. Got a lot of work cut out for us with this one. A lot of work we gotta do. And not a lot of time. 3 hours for this. Nelson's demos were usually 4 hours. I think. I mean, I was able to see one of them in person once. Of course, he passed away in 2015. So this was probably like 2011. And Nelson didn't really talk when he did his demos. And I guess that's personal preference. I like to talk about art, so I don't mind talking while I'm painting. This is the angle I was talking about. It's off on his. So this ear should actually be aligned with this one. So in the original, I don't know why he painted it that way. It could be that her ear is that way. I don't know. It's a mystery to me. Of that, I'm not sure. Now we're gonna put in some accents. Edge of the eye socket there. This accent here is going to help us place the parts. And of course the mouth. There's actually quite a few drawing mistakes in this one. The nose is not lined up properly with the eyes as well. So this one has always been a mystery to me. And I've done a study of it before, I think, but in oil paint. Now, I don't think we've ever done a Nelson Shanks acrylic. So, this is definitely not for the faint of heart. Hey, Land Art. Welcome to the stream. Remember, everyone, please feel free to ask any art-related questions you have. This isn't supposed to be purely educational per se. This is more like a podcast kind of hang out together thing, but you feel free to ask me anything. Any art-related questions you have? Questions you have about me? Okay, so Nelson almost always made the necks uh, of the models he painted very stylized in a way. They're long, quite long. See, I cut that in a little too close to the shadow, but that's okay. We'll cut back into it. So everything you do with acrylic, you have to be very mindful of the fact that it will dry a little differently. It will dry darker. Okay, so the neck goes almost all the way down there. And that gives us the angle that he has for the neck. Hey, Alwaludu, welcome to this very challenging stream. Look forward to it for sure. I've been looking forward to this all week actually. I scheduled Nelson Shanks acrylic the week that I couldn't stream, so I had been sitting on this for a while. It's been a challenge that I've been wanting to do. I'm not sure if any Studio Incaminati artists watch the stream, but in case you are here by any chance, let me know. Giselle, what other mediums have I worked with? Pretty much everything you've seen me do here is all that I've worked with. I'm curious about colored pencil. I haven't messed around with that yet. But no, I haven't really messed with any of the other ones just yet. There's not really much left except for like pen and ink. Could do something with a ballpoint pen, but of the more serious materials, I think, well, serious is a relative term, but for me, acrylic, oil, pastel are the four major ones. Jeez, there's a lot of water on this. I'm so used to holding the rag with the watercolor. Add a little color note there. I will be painting a pumpkin eventually, probably within the next week or so. Let me know if you want me to live stream that. You might be bored might get bored of that. The pumpkin I will paint with acrylic. It's something I do every year, and the pumpkin stays at my mother-in-law's place. Kind of a strange setup. I've been told that the residents there kind of um, they they anticipate that pumpkin. Mixed media. Yeah, I've done some in the past. Whew, long time ago. Uh, collage, not so much. No, haven't done a collage. Remember, you can't really blend with these the way you can with oil paint, so you have to be very deliberate about your planes. I'm glad to have these extra colors, especially for this Nelson Shank. Because I've got three yellows, an orange, two reds, two blues, a brown, black and white, and a gray. I consider Nelson to be one of the best, if not the best, portrait painter of the 20th century, in my opinion. Of course, there's a lot of other amazing ones. I've read Raymond Kinsler, Daniel Green, um, Bert Silverman. And they grew up in a time where realism wasn't really appreciated that much. El will Alvalado making a study is let's see. It's very yeah, this is very detailed for sure. Oh yeah, I already said one planes once. Oh, I'll definitely continue saying planes. There's a lot of planes that we're gonna work with here. And yeah, Nelson did a lot of studies of his compositions. I mean, some of his studies are pretty much full on paintings. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, of course, she would definitely look like an actress. All right, now we're gonna switch to a smaller brush and another thing of paper towel. I actually use gray like a color. It's basically a kind of a neutral blue. Got tired of mixing my own gray, so I just put gray on the palette. I initially bought that gray just to tone the canvases. Like I said, that, see, that dries darker. So, gotta be a little bit lighter than you think. Paint a little bit lighter than you think. That probably won't dry that dark. You can allow yourself to be uh, a little sharper with your edges with acrylic in the beginning. Just because it dries right away, you'll be able to go into it with wet over dry and create softer edges that way. Oh, thanks, so. Well, I had to cover a lot with this. Top plane of the nose. Accent of the highlight, mainly for placement. We're gonna go with kind of a bluish gray accent for where the eyes will eventually fit. Thanks for the likes, everyone. We're already at 21. Wow. Appreciate all the likes. We almost made it to 60 yesterday. That would have been a new maximum during the stream. If I paint well enough, maybe we'll make it to 60. Can't be afraid to make a mistake in acrylic. And I know that I have a tendency to make the mouth, put the mouth too low. So I'm just gonna just auto move it up before even doing anything. Cast shadow. Hey Lisa. Oh, you wish I was painting this in oil paint? It'll be pretty similar, I think. It would be pretty similar. I mean, the reason I've been doing a lot of the old masters in acrylic is just to show that it can be done. I mean, I've done so many Rembrandts, uh, Velasquez, Rubens in oil paint. So just to show that it can be done. Just to show what's possible. This whole bottom part is a little orangey, so I'm gonna have to cover it pretty quickly. You can see a lot of structure in these planes. Nelson is, of course, used natural light for this. I could tell the north-facing window for how soft the shadows are. Of course, like, he could have had an LED light that looks just like it as well. But to me, it looks like a window. I know that his studio had north light facing windows. Planes, planes, more planes. Plain to see. And we're painting with lots of planes. Like I said, you can paint wet into dry to soften these things, but now is not the time to soften anything. Oh, you rewatched that one. That was a nightmare. A little bit of a nightmare. I didn't know that I could do that, but now I know that I can. We can use the water to move the mouth up. Can't and won't be able to do that with this material. Yeah, that one was tough. Well, this one's gonna be tough too. I'm not sure if this has been done before. Doing a Nelson Shanks color study type of start. This is actually what a color study looks like at Incaminati, Studio Incaminati. And of course they work with oil paint. Maybe they do have some acrylic painters there too. I don't know. I want to make the trip to visit them again. I know that the school moved already, so who knows. But yeah, this is what a color study and portrait looks like. See how you're pushing all these colors? Planes of color across from other planes of color. Melody, transparent mixing white or clear gesso. Oh, clear gesso is pretty cool. You can preserve the texture or the look of the raw canvas or the raw wood. That's pretty cool. Um, I have a medium here that it's pretty much like you consider it kind of like a transparent white. I haven't actually used a transparent, I guess a transparent mixing white with acrylics yet. But this here, it it looks like white, but when you add it to your mixtures. See this? This is a medium. I like that it increases the gloss. It's a golden glazing fluid. Looks a lot like pastels at the moment. Yeah, kind of. Learning a little bit from each material benefits the other ones. And Nelson's starts were so chaotic. It really is really something that you just have to see to believe. I'm sure that he would have started this painting a lot looser than this. By a lot, I mean a lot looser. And this is as loose as it gets for me. Sometimes you gotta cut right through a plane like that, chop right through it, and then add it back just so you see the form. Makes you think of Degas. Well, that's good for a start, but we want to be able to build on that. I guess subconsciously I'm thinking about how much Nelson emphasized color. I have confidence enough with my drawing that I can paint this way and then build on top of it. I would have really benefited having a light green. But it's neat to see all these colors again. Really reminds me of Incominati. All these cooler towards the blue green type planes. I hope everyone is okay after that hurricane. Anyone here from Florida? Let us know how you're doing. Hey, Francesco. Welcome, welcome. Melody, you bought the Stay With palette? Awesome. So do you set it up with the mix of your values with one brush, or will you paint with it, or just oh, okay. I set it up as you see here. I like to have white, yellows, and then oranges, red, brown, black, and then the cool colors over here on the other side. If I had yellow green, I would have put it next to the white. I'll probably buy one in the future, and then I keep the medium down here. And I just using one brush, I create my mixtures here, and then I have a zone, light near the white, middle, kind of in the middle, and the dark closer to black. Do you see that? So light to dark, and then I kind of go and transition around the. So suppose this, right? I wanted this value range. I'm mixing between these two, and I need that for here. So that's how I decide to paint that. Um, Say I want something a little bit darker, so I go right here. See how it's, of course, it's still wet. And now I can use this value for something like that. Uh, so that's how I use the palette. And I'm holding my paper towel because like it's a little bit faster for me to clean the brush like this. So it does get kind of sticky on your hands. Nelson painted like that with his oil paints. I don't recommend that though with oil paints because it's a lot, uh, it's more work to get it off your hands. See this? I knew I needed to make something lighter, so I went right into the palette. Right, kind of like automatically where I knew that that value was going to be. I really like having a gray. It cuts down a lot of time. I just used gray. It's a more of a coolant. I appreciate the question. But excellent purchase on the Stay Wet palette. Not sponsored by anyone, though. I'm gonna start reaching out to companies, see if we can get some sponsorships. Stay Wet palette is incredibly essential. It's essential to acrylic painting. If you're gonna be doing values, you need it. It's not just a luxury; it's a necessity. I use the same brush. It's really easy to clean off the paint, so yeah, I use the same brush. Same brush. Yeah, same brush. You really don't need multiple brushes with acrylic. They dry pretty fast as long as you can manage your mixtures. You don't need another brush. You don't need anything to alter the drying time of the paint. Acrylic stays open long enough, stays wet long enough that you can make a lot of this similar value transitions that you can do with oil paint. And if I were to be using two brushes, then it would take me a little bit of extra time to clean them. So that's it's not so practical, in my opinion. But of course, there's always another way. So what works for you ends up being the correct choice. Don't worry about things drying all kinds of weird. Focus on your big shapes with an emphasis on simplicity. You made one for $1.25 with Domino's plastic container. Well, that's good. I have done that before with the parchment paper, but I don't think it lasts as long as this does. This is the same sheet of paper for however many months it's been of weekly use. It's been used a lot. And that's actually what I used to do for acrylic palette when I was painting pumpkins. When I first started painting pumpkins, was the parchment paper. I did a little paint night once. I hosted a paint night, um, and I used that. The same thing, the parchment paper. It was the first and the last paint night I've ever done. I'm not much of a in-person um, teacher. I'm actually slightly moving away from teaching and more towards painting this kind of stuff. With my online students, I have a series of playlists that has been that's taken years to complete. So students basically just use the playlists and contact me for advice, and that's all. So moving away from teaching a little bit into what you're seeing here. Because I do want to paint more and increase my painting ability. Yeah, you definitely want to get the stay wet. I mean, the parchment paper, the feel of the parchment paper is not quite the same as as the stay wet palette. I mean, of course, I understand the money saving aspect, but with this, you basically spend the money once. All you have to do is change the paper and the sponge eventually at some point, but this thing is kind of magical how it closes off all the oxygen. You've had, yeah, the Stay Wet is fantastic. I'm probably gonna start adding a gray to my oil painting setup as well. You know what I really want is to get another Stay Wet palette, but find a piece of wood or a piece of glass that will stay in this box. It's just really practical. And if you're full-time painting, your palette, the most important thing about your palette is not the way it looks, but the practicality of the palette. I like the handheld palette mainly for the fact that I can stand back and move with it, but for studio painting, probably best to have a tabletop palette that you can move around, or sorry, that you can store. Yeah, and if you would have asked me when I was uh, a student in Caminati if this would be possible to do an acrylic, I would have said, of course not, but I guess it is. And I'm really excited about the color range that we're getting here. And these are just the cheap acrylics. They're not expensive at all. I got some of these on sale for like less than $1. So, acrylic painters, what do you find the most challenging part of acrylic is? I'm curious, what do you think the most challenging part of acrylic is? What's the most challenging thing about acrylic for you? transparency. The transparency of the acrylic, I could see that. It is quite transparent. Italaya, Hannah, you said they dry too fast? Okay. I could see that too. They do dry pretty fast, which could cause some if difficulties, especially if you're coming into this from something like oil painting. So, yeah, what do you find most challenging for uh, using acrylics? Those of you acrylic painters out there. Grace, you wrote, since you've only used acrylics, it's not that, it's moving regularly to avoid stiffening up. Yeah, I could, yeah, as I sit here, that's why I take a break every hour. That's one of the reasons. The other is it's good to just be apart from the painting for a little bit, get some perspective. Melody blending, so creating transitions. Yeah, that could be a challenge. Coming from a an oil painting background, it can seem almost daunting because most of what you do with oil painting is wet into wet. So there's a lot of wet into dry that happens with acrylics that does make it kind of a challenge. Well, the Stay Wet palette will definitely make that much easier because you have to go pretty quickly between your planes. So you don't want to end up having to remix an entire section. Thank you. Have you ever read Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain? I haven't read that one. My I've always been sold about the art spirit from Robert Henry. Um, I recommend the Vanderpool charcoal drawing book. Doing a lot of those Vanderpools would be good. John DeMartin has a figure drawing book that he published. So yeah, those are my recommendations for books. Yeah, it does look way different when coming back. Let's see, you wrote choosing a way to produce a light value that doesn't give the skin a pasty white sticky look. Well, I mean, perhaps just using more warm colors would help with that. I think. I don't know. Well, yeah, exactly, Grace. So that's the wet into dry, like what I just did there, for sure. So you were warm colors, but when lightening up, what besides white? Well, don't have too many options there. You just have yellow and white typically. So, I think the issue might be more about color relationships. So, one color may look very different next to another one. So, if you have trouble with your lights looking too um, too cool, or I think you wrote pasty, then it could be that everything around is too warm relative to the light. So this could end up looking too, I guess, pasty, I guess, if everything around it is too warm, which it kind of is. So another thing which was probably the most, I guess, accurate is going to be the value. Is your value perfect? Because if the value isn't perfect, then we may be blaming the color for something that uh, is more of a value correction than it is a color correction. Scrubbing or overworking, I don't know about lifting the paint. At least with these, I haven't had any issues with that. Oh, I just realized it's been an hour. Holy moly. It's been an hour. So anyone that may be new to this, I take a break, typically take a break every hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a break, and I usually play the video of my Shiba Inu. In the future, I'm gonna put some stuff up for sale. So I'll have some videos of what I'm going to be selling and the prices and all that stuff. Um, so yeah, let's go ahead and take a break now. I don't know why I just put that in there. but seems kind of appropriate. Let's let the red dry while I'm out. I'm only gonna take a break for a couple minutes, but I'm gonna put some red here, and I'm gonna let that dry that way, so that I can paint back into it wet into dry, wet, wet onto dry. So we're gonna let that dry that way. And when we return, we will get into the subtleties. Zinc white, titanium, transparent mixing white. I would just use titanium. And the medium that I have is gloss glazing liquid. This is all you really need. It's titanium white and this gloss glazing liquid. And all that together, and you can paint something like this. So you don't need too many different materials. So we are going to take a break, and you'll get to watch the video of Hugo. I've noticed an interesting trend. People tend to show up for the video of Hugo and then leave when I come back. So hopefully you'll enjoy the video and you're not too tired of it. And I'll be back in a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere unless you absolutely have to. Alrighty then. Let's continue this painting, shall we? We're entering into the subtleties, and depending on how comfortable I get with the painting, we will start doing, potentially do the trivia, but let me paint a little bit longer without doing the trivia just so I can focus a tad bit more. I'm not as skilled with acrylic as I am with oil paint. So let's just play it by ear, just see how it goes first. Without the trivia, then maybe if we're up to it, we'll do the trivia. Did everyone get a chance to vote for either soft or oil pastel for this week? Uh, that's coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow is pastel day. I had a visor somewhere. I keep misplacing it. There it is. That light is a little too bright for my eyes for this subtlety stage. Oh, you did vote. Which one did you vote for? Soft pastel or oil pastel? If it turns out that soft pastel wins, I'm gonna have to go to the store, get the paper for that. Which I don't mind. I need to get more materials anyway. This is why I need a sponsor. I'm gonna have to bring out the smaller brushes soon. The Gisela voted for oil pastel. That's true. I have only done 2 of them so far. That is very true. Any Studio Incominati people here? That'd be pretty cool if any of you were here. I tried reaching out to Nelson's son a couple times to maybe like collaborate on something over there, but I think he's really busy, as we all are. But yeah, of course we can alternate later on between the soft and oil, pastel. Yeah, I find that I like the feel of acrylic on canvas a little more than acrylic on a panel, a canvas panel. Purely just for the feel, not really any anything practical. Now we're subdividing these planes into smaller ones. So this is subtleties. What makes it really fun is after enough experience with painting, you're really fine-tuned with the process of um, building a painting, and it's loose from the beginning all the way till the end. And you have to loosen up if you're gonna do paintings in 3 hours. It's also very practical as a full-time artist. Anyone that wants to be a full-time artist, you can't take forever on a painting and then charge like rent money on it unless you make it big in New York or something. Of course, that's what Nelson did. He got super famous. Spent a long time on his studio paintings and sold them for, oof, you could probably buy a house for as much as he was selling for. I don't even know how much his commissions were. All these planes. You want to be able to access your palette pretty quickly. You've got to be pretty quick with these plane changes. It makes sense that we do this demo kind of the way Nelson would have without talking as much. But if you've met me in person, I'm kind of a talker. I like to get to know you, get to talk to people. Everyone's life experiences are so unique. Angela, Welcome, welcome. Cobalt? I think it is. I think let me check for you. It was another one of those colors that I got on sale. Uh, it is. Oh, you're good. Yeah, it's cobalt blue. Well, it's cobalt blue hue, but it's cobalt blue. That's this one over here. And I got it for sale. I got it on sale, so I think it was less than $1 that I paid for it at I think it was Staples. Yeah, it's definitely time for a smaller brush. I missed the mark for that. Tear ducts. Yeah, I think I'm all right. I don't find that I'm struggling too much with this. I can see, which planes I'm going to add next, when I'm going to switch to the smaller brush, how I'm going to vignette that. So I think I'm all right. I don't need to give everyone the silent treatment. So yeah, we can do some trivia and art jokes. So whoever makes me laugh gets a point, but a little more than a chuckle. So whoever makes me laugh gets a point. Giselle has been pretty good at that. Grace has been our art historian, undefeated champion here with our subtlety trivia. Mainly because I don't really like sitting here in the silence and painting. I'd rather have something to talk about. And I'm actually like this when I paint people in person. I prefer to talk to them. Like I said, I'm somewhat of a talker. You wrote, do you think that knowing your model is needed for a good composition? In that case, be a talker or have good observation is important. I think, yeah, I think so. I think knowing the person adds something to the composition, even though it makes it more difficult to paint. But yeah, I think it does. All right, so everyone ready for your subtlety trivia? First question is going to be about Nelson Shanks. What is the name of the school that Nelson Shanks started in Philadelphia? What is the name of the school, for 1 point, that Nelson Shanks started in Philadelphia? For 1 point. You don't mind the silence? Well, we can have some moments of silence. There's going to be a point where I get into more deep thought, but at this point I'm okay. I don't feel like it's that, oddly enough, I don't think it's that complicated. This painting. It's kind of intimidated me a little bit at first, but now it's not so bad. We're just cruising. I guess something changed in me in the past week, but I feel a little bit stronger with my painting than I was before. I think it was watercolor, to be honest. I think watercolor pushed me to a different level. I think it probably was watercolor. Okay, Grace gets that one. Studio and Caminati. 1 point to Grace. Correct, correct. Next question for 1 point. What is the name of the medium that Nelson Shanks used? He was known to only paint with turpentine and what other medium? Which may come as a surprise. Some more structure for the chin. Still using a relatively big brush for this. Angela, you made me laugh. Angela gets a point for saying no idea. Angela gets a point. Like I said, share any deep thoughts or insights you have really enjoyed them and you gain more accurate renditions a lot quicker. I don't know how that happened, to be honest. I think it has to do with watercolor. I think it has to do with all the materials forcing me to think differently about how I'm painting. That's my guess. We don't just magically get better without doing something different. So, I don't know. I don't know. Don't have the answers. So what Nelson Shanks used, other than turpentine, was stand oil. I know that might come as a shock because I was just mentioning before that stand oil is really slow drying, and he would mix his stand oil with his turpentine. He would mix stand oil and turpentine together. That was his medium, and he would say something about keeping the materials simple, the medium simple. Stand oil is very simple. It's just boiled linseed oil. Of course, I prefer with oil painting. I prefer Neo Megilp. Yeah, no worries, Grace. Yeah, stand oil. That's what Nelson used. No, stand oil mixed with turpentine. And at the studio in Caminati, they would use stand oil mixed with odorless mineral spirits. Well, back when I was at Incaminati, I don't know anymore. Let's see. No, he didn't use spike lavender. He used straight up turpentine, which I don't recommend. Pretty cool character though. I mean, if you ever like heard how heard him speak, like there's some interviews on YouTube. You can tell he's quite a character. He would I mean I don't endorse it, but he would um smoke cigarettes while painting with turpentine, and you can actually see on his palette a burn mark from a cigarette. Masonite boards, oh yeah, those are pretty good. They're expensive now. They used to be cheap. They used to be cheap. That's why we used them back then. Nothing's cheap anymore. Okay, get ready for your next subtlety trivia question for 1 point. See if anyone remembers this. What is the reason Caravaggio threatened a waiter? Why did Caravaggio threaten a waiter? For 1 point. He refused wine. Well, I'm pretty sure he did threaten a waiter for something like that. But it had something to do with something else. Very close. I think you were trying to make me laugh. I should have laughed. I should have laughed. Why didn't I laugh? Interesting. I thought everyone would have jumped on that one. We did kind of joke about it before. Yes, correct. It had to do with artichokes. So Grace gets the point. Artichokes, were they done in butter or oil? I don't know. Smell them yourself. How dare you? Pulls out his dagger, threatens the waiter. At least that's what they say in the documentary. Oh, you're just on your cell phone. No worries, Angela. Can't wait to see what you're painting these days, Angela. It's been a while. Yeah, it was the artichokes. He threw a plate of artichokes and said to choke the waiter? Or he was choking on them. That's interesting. Oh, I think we're approaching the smaller brush time. Difficult customer, yeah. Definitely a difficult customer. Alright, next question for 1 point. Multiple answers are accepted. What is the point of an underpainting? Multiple answers are accepted. What is the point of an underpainting? And we still remember that, right? So Grace gets that one. The question was, what's the point of an underpainting? So multiple answers were acceptable. Yes, the transparency of the paint. Yeah, you can build a lot of neat effects with different transparencies with underpaintings. Just like your Artemisia. Just like the Artemisia you painted. Okay. Next question for 1 point. Wow, we're only 20 minutes till the next hour. Holy moly. Okay, let's get the small brush and let's start to add some subtleties here. Ooh, this is the question for online students. Or you may also have heard me say this term before. So when the subtleties get really, really difficult in a painting, what do I call that? When the subtleties get really, really difficult, what do I call that? And we'll do that one for 2 points. Because you really had to have been paying attention to what I said. What term would I use for when the subtleties get really, really difficult in a painting? Not the awkward stage. No, I wouldn't. Well, yeah, second finish is like what I would call the end. But there's something I used to say about the subtleties. It was a stage that I used to say about the subtleties. When the subtleties get really, really difficult. The second finish is basically returning to a finished painting before you call it finished. Like, to change anything that you need to change. But no, that wasn't the subtleties. I guess no one remembers that one. What I used to call the subtleties. This is really only something I think I used to say. Minute, that's close, close. But no, no. I have used that word before, though. This was specifically for my online classes, but I also titled back in the day when I did the pre-recorded videos. I used to call it this term. Subtlety stage, not quite. Okay. Well, the answer was impossible subtleties. That's what I used to call the stage of a painting in which the subtleties are really, really difficult. The impossible subtleties. The impossible subtleties. Do you remember, Angela? And that one was pretty unique, I think. I don't know anyone else that used that term. Okay, next question for 1 point. What do I call, what is the name of the, it's kind of hard not to give it away in the name, but what is it called when you add medium to a dry painting to bring back its luminosity? What did I used to call that? What did I used to call the act of adding medium onto a dry painting, oil painting, to bring back its luminosity? What do I refer to that as? Oh, wow. Okay, very quick there. Oiling out. Yes, oiling out is what I call that stage. So the point goes to Grace to invigorate. No, no, not that. Okay. Next up for 1 point. What was the year that Nelson Shanks was born? Yeah, I find having gray here is actually really useful. So I'll probably add a gray to my oil painting setup as well. Okay, point for Grace, 1937. I actually didn't, I knew it was in the 30s, but I didn't remember the exact number. Next up for 1 point. Other than sable, what type of brush do I prefer to use for oil painting? Other than sable, what type of brush do I prefer to use for oil painting? Hey Jonas, welcome, welcome. Hey Korhan, welcome, welcome. I meant what type of brush other than sable? What type of brush? Not so much the name brand. What is the name of the type of brush? Sable is referring to the type of hair. So what is the other one that I use? Yes, there you go. Grace gets that one. Bristle brush. And I don't really need that for acrylic painting, which is another reason why I like the low maintenance of acrylic. Silver and away bristle. Close, close to making me laugh. Close, close, close. Okie dokie, next up for 1 point. What is the name of the plane in between the nose and the mouth? What is the name of this plane? Wow, we only got 7 minutes till the next break. This went by fast. This one went by really fast. Hey, Anna Cupid's bow. Perhaps that is a name. And if that is a name that it's referred to as, you can also get that point. But philtrum is the correct term. However, if it's also referred to as Cupid's bow, then You also get the point, Anna. That's neat. I never heard that one before. I have never heard that one before. Okay, next up. That's what makeup girls call it. Cupid's bow. Okay. Well, I mean, if that's the terminology for it, then you get the point as well. Hey, Susan. All right, next up for 1 point. What is the name of the mural that Sargent painted? What is the name of the mural? He painted one huge mural. What was the name of that mural? No, Night Watch is Rembrandt. That's Rembrandt's. John Singer Sargent painted a mural. What's the name of the mural? It's close enough though, Giselle. I think Anna should still get the point. Even I did say specifically in between the nose and the mouth. So even though that should still count. Synagogue. Let me check that for a second, because I actually don't remember. Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, synagogue. Correct. Correct, correct, correct. I actually forgot the name of that one. Next up, a repeat. What is the name of the most expensive painting ever sold? What is the name of the most expensive painting ever sold? Sunflowers. Was it? Did it top the Does Salvatore... Oh, it's a break time. Well, I'm going by my live. I actually started this stream, I think 5 minutes late. So I've got 1 minute. While I have the 1 minute, we're gonna add some more stuff to the background. So I did start the stream late. I don't want to, start late and then end early kind of thing. Because around here, we try to be responsible. So now it's been 2 hours. So now is the point where I take a break. This will be the last break, and when we return, we will finish this up. At least add more subtleties to it. Mainly focusing here. I already chose my vignette. It would be just a few little shapes here, something for the hair, but mainly here. More work here. Kind of like how Nelson would do his studies. Although this will be more than a study, of course. So the point goes to Grace. Unless well, you said sunflowers also, but yes. Salvador Mundi. Yeah, this is the consistency I wanted. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I could do this for the rest of my life. I mean, for me, it's fun, and I get paid for it, so get paid to have fun. That's a good thing. So we're gonna take a break. Video of Hugo is going to play, and I'll be back in just a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere unless you absolutely have to. Alrighty then. We have returned. And let's take this now to a finish. Oh, thank you, Anna. Thank you for that comment. Yeah, Gisela, this is the consistency that I wanted. And as you can, as it as it might show, it is definitely increasing my own, I guess, painting abilities. At least I think it is. So of course the jaw is a little different since this is foreshortened a tad bit. So I actually, believe it or not, I think I might have to move the nose up. I usually have to, I probably won't though. There are certain things that you have to prioritize in a painting. Likeness is one of them if you're painting someone you know. This is a little more laid back for me because, well, my aim is not to perfectly reproduce the Nelson, but to use the kind of um, simplifications in terms of planes and colors that I was taught and use that in a Nelson Shanks acrylic. The term Nelson Shanks in acrylic, I don't think has ever been a thing. I doubt he would have ever used acrylics, I'm not sure. Alright, so next up for 1 point, subtlety trivia with the 27 that are still here. Appreciate all the likes, everyone. Didn't quite make it to what we had yesterday, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay. Next up for 1 point. Another repeat. What brotherhood was Waterhouse affiliated with? What brotherhood was John William Waterhouse affiliated with? The comments also help um, advertise the stream. It makes it more uh, show up under recommended videos. So that's another useful thing about the subtle trivia. Yes, the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. Point goes to our in-house art historian, Grace. Okay. Next question for 1 point. What river was Rembrandt named after? What river was Rembrandt named after? Repeat questions, but I think it actually helps to do these so it becomes ingrained in our minds. Okay, Grace is, I believe, in the lead. Next, for 1 point, multiple choices are available. This will be 1 point given to the first 3 people to comment down their favorite John Singer Sargent quote. This is the point for 3 people. What is your favorite John Singer Sargent quote? The first 3 comments will get a point. Paint a friend and lose a friend. Alrighty, so the first one goes to Grace. 2 more points are available. What is your favorite John Singer Sargent quote? 2 more points available. So all you've got to do to get another point is type in your favorite Sargent quote. Oops, that was water. Okay, let's move on then. For 1 point. Name a famous painter that had a cat. Name a famous painter that had a pet cat. Multiple answers are available. Name a famous painter that had a cat. Okay. Monet. And Matisse. You learn something new every day. I asked that question without knowing the answer. I was curious. The point goes to Grace. Still 2 open points available. All you have to do is type down your favorite Sargent quote. And I think this is what uh, someone was asking me about the blending stuff with acrylics. So this is why I like the Stay Wet palette, because see that? Pretty much just like with oil paint. It's definitely the Stay Wet palette. Oh, Giselle, you have a cat. I always wondered what could a cat ruin any of your artworks? Like scratch them up or something? I feel like that would kind of be a danger, wouldn't it? I trained Hugo to basically avoid all canvases when he was a puppy, so I don't have that problem with him. Yeah, so yeah, that's Sergeant would say every time I paint a portrait, I lose a friend. That was Matisse. Okay. Next up for another point. Let's do 2. If you put the art on a scratching pool, there will be carnage. Oh gosh. Yeah. Cats in the studio, I would be terrified. I know you can train cats, but I've personally never done it. So I wouldn't have the slightest idea. I mean, I'm assuming it'd be similar to dogs, like food motivated, I think. I don't know. But cats are I think, too independent for that kind of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like cats. They're, I think they're in my, I think they're more equipped for, like survival in the sense that they kind of learned that humans provide them with stuff they need, so they hang out with us because they kind of they know that we give them food and stuff. Okay, so next up for a point, let's stick with, oh, yeah, let's stick with, what's your favorite Rembrandt quote? And I think there's only like one that I know of. There's only one that I know of. Yeah. Oh yeah, Hugo definitely chews things up too. If they like you. Yeah. I did have Wife and I did have a cat named Deborah, and unfortunately she passed away pretty young. She was um, not even 2 when she passed away. We had a harness on her, and we took her to PetSmart and stuff when she was a kitten. Without atmosphere, a painting is nothing. That could be a Rembrandt quote. There was one, but I totally just blanked. Don't remember it. I think I even put it at the end of one of my YouTube videos once. An honest man always values earning honor over wealth. I could see that. That's definitely sounds like Rembrandt. I guess now we would say an honest person. There are 5 you spotted online. Yeah, Rembrandt did have a lot of atmosphere in his paintings. For sure. The painting's finished when the artist says it's finished. You could also say that a painting is finished when you receive the check. That could be another variation of that. The painting is finished when you get your paycheck. How come no one said that? I'm sure someone said that. The painting is complete when you receive your paycheck. Whoa, that's a tough one there, Grace. Okay, so life etches itself onto our faces as we grow older, showing our violence, uh, excuses, or kindness. Excesses or kindness. Yeah, that's the one I remember. Choose only one master, nature. That's the one that I put that at the end of a video once. That was the quote that I knew at one point. Next up for 1 point. What is the name of a greenish underpainting? Next up for 1 point. What is the name of a greenish underpainting? What is the name of a greenish underpainting? Oh, Angela's so close. So close. So Grace got that one. Bordaccio. Bordaccio. So close, Angela. Next up for 1 point. What is the purpose of a greenish underpainting? Why have a greenish underpainting in the first place? They feel sick. Okay, that was a good one. All right, Giselle gets a point for making me laugh. They feel sick. Remember, you can also get a point if you make me laugh. They feel sick. All right, point to Giselle for making me laugh. Okay, Grace gets that one as well. Great for portraiture because of the flesh color on top. Correct, correct, correct. It makes the warm colors pop out more when you have a cooler tone underneath, which is one of the reasons I opt for a gray tone. Nelson used the gray tone as well. I mean that's where I got it from. Huh? Represents gross harmony. The green underpainting. Alrighty. Next up for another point. What was the name of the artist that painted the Peaceable Kingdom? I'm really liking these colors. I'm really happy that we did this, Nelson Shanks. Let's just show that we can do this with acrylic. It's not as bad as you may think. It's not as bad as you may think. Okay, point goes to Giselle. Edward Hicks. Definitely check out his self-portrait that's in the National Gallery in DC. I mean, if you're in DC, seeing it in person will be great, but just check out a picture of it. It's the most unique, the most character I've ever seen in a self-portrait. And he wasn't a career artist. I think he was a Puritan or something. Call him Eddie. Almost made me laugh again. Next up for 1 point. Who is the artist that Gauguin lived with for a period of time? Who is the artist that Gauguin lived with for a period of time? Can go. Can go. That's funny. Funny, funny, funny. I know it's a typo. I know, I know. So Grace gets that one. Van Gogh, very close, Giselle. Lisa wrote, would one use the complementary color for an underpainting where the actual painting will be mostly painted with complementary color of the underpainting? Yeah, of course it makes sense. Yeah, definitely. That's why you'll see a lot of landscape painters will use a warm brown kind of tone as opposed to a gray that you would use for portrait. Exactly. That is correct. Left him in the lurch. Yeah, they were an interesting group, the two of them. Next up for 1 point. What was the name of the artist that struggled with perspective and painted crooked buildings and passed it off as a style? There's the name of the artist that struggled with perspective, painted crooked buildings, and then passed it off as a style. What was the name of the artist that painted crooked buildings and passed it off as a style? Oh, no worries, Lisa. Thanks for joining again. That might be a person that did crooked perspective. And if so, then you can also get that point. I was thinking of a different character. So if that is correct, then you can also share that point. Yeah, I'm not gonna move the nose up. Instead, I'd have to move the mouth. I could move the eyes down, but I kind of don't feel like it. So the eyes are really close. And I don't like the way Nelson drew it. And I think it's something that I mentioned in the beginning. So the longer nose, I kind of prefer it. You can do this, move this down, and that gives you an idea of the length of the nose relative to the position of the eyes. So I know it's different, but I'm not going to chase it. So the artist I was thinking of is Cezanne. He had a lot of leaning tower looking things. But yeah, Giselle, you can take that point since I don't know who the other person is. Okay. Next up for 1 point. What is the name of Rembrandt's son? What was Rembrandt's son's name? Rembrandt painted this son. Well, if he did have a son named Leo, then you can have that point as well. But the answer I was looking for was Titus. Pretty sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but Titus. The highlight has to work with the light. So you gotta paint this part pretty quick with acrylics. Okay. Next, for 1 point. Before paint tubes, what was one way that artists transported their paints? Before the invention of paint tubes, what was a method that artists used to transport their paint? Yeah, I kind of prefer the longer nose um, over the one that Nelson painted. So I'm gonna just let it be like that. French easel jars, that is a method. That is true. El Waldo, you wrote, and do a painting study, it must, whoops, it must be detailed. Um, doesn't have to be detailed or highly finished to be useful. What I do with these is I try to basically push the limits of what I can do in 3 hours. That's what I like to do with these. So in that sense, they go a little bit beyond the study. But you want to isolate one thing at a time that you're trying to learn. So if you're struggling with drawing, then isolate just drawing light and shadow. If you're struggling with values, you may want to isolate just using black and white. And it doesn't matter how realistic it is. If you struggle with making things look realistic or as you said, detailed, then it would help to do some still life before trying to make a face look realistic. Try to be able to do that first with a still life. There you go. Grace got that one. Pig's bladder. That was the one that I was looking for. When pigs fly. Pig bladders that were sealed with thread and punctured with an ivory tack to extract the paint. That's even more. Okay, so Giselle and Grace both get that point. Giselle and Grace both get that point. So, point there for specificity in the answer that Giselle gave. So, Giselle, give yourself 1 extra point. Grace, you also get an extra point. And you know what? Lisa gets the point too when pigs fly. It's kind of funny. So Lisa, Giselle, Grace, all of you got points. When pigs fly, that was a good one. That was a good one. Yeah, of course. Uh, Alwaldo is isolating different tasks is really important for anything. I mean, you're learning a sport, it's the same thing. I can only relate to pool. And if you can't shoot straight, then you have to work on uh, your center of vision, figuring out where that is, and then making sure that you're isolating that for the entire day, the entire training session, instead of going and trying to play a game of 9 ball. Focus on building your straight shot. That's the beginning of everything in pool. That's what they tell me. In painting, drawing is everything. To me, painting and drawing are the same thing. In painting, you're just drawing with color, so it's the same thing. But if you struggle with lines, isolate lines. If you struggle with mass, isolate mass. It takes a lot of patience. It's like going to the gym. Not it's not the most fun thing to do, but you know that it will help in the long run. Yeah, of course, Lisa, that was funny. When pigs fly, I can just I have a dark humor. I have a sense of dark humor, so that's why that was funny for me. Sorry to anyone that has a pet pig. Oh, thanks. Lisa, yeah, I changed the likeness. I changed the look with this. I entered it knowing that the alignment of the eyes and the nose was not correct in the Nelson painting, and the angle of the ears weren't correct. And I didn't like how like smushed everything was here in the original. Now, of course, Nelson is my superhero, so it's nothing against Nelson. Obviously, I just wanted to change that aspect of it. Hey, Glomio, thanks for watching from Hungary. I am 33. Almost forgot my age. I'm 33. Been painting for 16 years. Mostly oil painting. And yeah, when I started to take it, professionally, I've been um, making the efforts of doing it professionally for 16 years. But I always painted all my life. Would always draw. I like to draw cars and Dragon Ball Z characters when I was in elementary school. But yeah, 33. We still got plenty of time. Well, hopefully. You never know. But this is the dream for me to be able to do this. I'm very, very thankful that you like to watch these videos. People like these videos. It's definitely a huge risk putting all this information out there. It's pretty much moving away from teaching to more doing. That's what we're doing here. Happy little world, so change what you want. True, true, true. All right, so let's see. Oh, it's already 2:50. I mean, 2 hours 50 minutes. So one more question for 1 point, and then you're gonna tally up your points And we're gonna figure out who's the winner for tonight. Okay, so next question for 1 point. This is gonna be quick. What is the name of Nelson's son that's still painting to this day? His son is younger than me. I met him when he was like 12 or something like that. For 1 point, last point of the night. Or day, depending on where you are. Last point of the stream. Okay. Grace got that one. Alexander Shanks. Still painting to this day, and he is younger than me. And I think he's still based in Philadelphia. I'm not sure. I tried to collaborate with him before, but being Alexander Shanks, I'm sure he's super busy. Oh, you love Dragon Ball Z too. My favorite character, I hate to say Goku, but Goku, yeah, I always would draw Goku and Vegeta. Um, but I'm gonna go with Trunks. I like Future Trunks. Um, I'll say Future Trunks was my favorite. But we all remember that iconic moment, the first time Goku goes Super Saiyan. And we all just went berserk. Of course, how many times did Krillin was like kind of like Kenny from South Park. How many times did they kill Krillin? Like so many times. But yeah, that's what I used to draw when I was a kid. I even sold some of those drawings as a kid for like $1 each. Yeah, of course, Lisa. Whenever we're happy with the paintings, that's when we consider them done. Oh, he's still 19. Wow. That's how old I was when I was at Incominati. Alrighty, so it is that time of the stream. Go ahead, tally up your point. Tally up your point. Oh, you got 19. I thought you said Alexander was 19. I think he's got to be in his mid 20s or something like that. So you got 19. That's going to be a tough one to beat, but maybe Giselle has more. We'll see. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this acrylic Nelson. It's of course not as realistic as the original, but for 3 hours, it's not too bad. I don't think. I don't know. I may have bombed it, but it's all right. Definitely not as bad as my other acrylics were. And I think I just spent too much time drawing with the lines. And so what if the likeness is a little bit off, like the nose is longer or whatever? It's about, to me, a portrait is not just about likeness. That's what a photograph is for. But to me, it's about capturing something that can't be put into words. That's what a portraiture is for me. Capturing something that cannot be put into words. All right, the undefeated champion of subtle trivia. It is Grace. So this is the vignette that I chose. I knew that I was only going to put a couple of those shapes in there to begin with. Focused more with the structure of the face. Didn't even get into too much specificity with this part of the shadow. Just making sure that I didn't do the same mistake that I made with the Caravaggio where I left light there and it just totally destroyed the form. So I'm pretty happy with this one. Even the blue that's here, I don't really mind it. I don't mind it. So we'll go ahead and sign this one. I'll sign it up there. And one thing to do with these paintings, if you do create a master study like this and then sell it, make sure to write after the person that you painted it. And typically I'll write it on the back, not the front. Painted after so and so. If you're gonna sell them. Yeah, the blue does do something. It does. And we're afraid of capturing their image related to stealing their soul. Your soul is mine. Oh, I could see that. Okay, let's sign it up here. And typically I'll just put a 2 and a 4. Looks somewhat like a 4. And on the back we can write after Nelson Shanks, if this ever gets sold. Oh, thanks, Lisa. Yeah, I could have chased it if I wanted to. I could have moved the eyes down, and that would move the forehead down, but I didn't want to. So good job on the victory. Subtle trivia victory. So depending on how the vote goes, tomorrow will be either soft or oil pastel. Anyone that may be new to the streams, remember we are streaming Tuesday through Friday, 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Tuesday is watercolor, Wednesday is oil paint, Thursday, as we just did here, is acrylic, Friday is pastel, and we'll alternate between soft and oil pastel depending on what people choose. Alrighty. That's all I have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Take care, and I'll see you all tomorrow.